Whew. The conversation surrounding a recent manga released by Manga Plus, Drama Queen, has been, to say it lightly, heated. It has been extremely spicy. I mean, based on what I'm seeing on social media and on the website itself, you'd think that this should not exist. Like, this is one of those cases where everybody's calling for this to be removed. Like, Shueisha should not be publishing this. There is even a fear that this might actually be canceled before it even starts. Now, I would assume that they know what they're doing and that they would be like, yeah, don't worry, it's coming to the punchline. I mean, there's a lot of people that believe this manga, even though it does start very questionable, it could go into one of those kind of like, oh, but it's this all along. I don't think that's going to appease people at this point, but either way, once I seen the outrage on social media and seen the outrage on the site itself, I'm thinking, okay, I kind of have to read this. Like, I have read quite a few things that are extremely questionable and that people don't want to disconnect reality from the fiction itself. And so this seems like it's right up my alley. I mean, Mushoku Tensei, people think that shouldn't exist. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I always feel like there's going to be something in there. And even if it doesn't say something about things, at least if there's a good story there, I think it still should be told. And so, yes, I jumped into this series. To give a rundown on what the series is about, you have essentially 9 years ago, aliens have shown up and they save mankind from this massive meteor. If they didn't show up, mankind would have died. And they start living amongst the humans. The humans actually let them live amongst them. They coexist. It seems like it's mostly focused in Japan. We have like 17 million aliens have started living amongst Japan itself. Everybody's coexisting. It kind of goes into more detail on the idea that mankind is like overly accepting of them. They love the aliens. Like, again, they brought them technology. They're giving the aliens free parking. They're giving them free housing. If they do anything wrong, they don't even apologize, and everybody loves them, and they're MVPs of baseball, and they're leading all the corporations in Japan. Like, people just love them. Like, the aliens, they're great. They have like Alien Appreciation Week and everything. But our protagonist does not like the aliens. It seems like they appreciate what the aliens have done. They like the fact that they saved mankind. They like that they brought technology, but there's something about them they just don't like. And yes, there's also the problem that every single time they're anywhere near these aliens, they elbow them in the face. Their boss is treating him horribly. Their pay is horrible. There's a lot of things that are leading up to says that this person isn't going to like these aliens existing there. Now, there is the problem that they don't want to speak up. They obviously see that everybody, without any reservation, loves the aliens. They can't speak up. People will hate them if they don't like the aliens, because it seems like everybody loves them. Well, one day they end up meeting a coworker that also gets elbowed in the face a lot by their boss. And this person does not like the aliens either. But again, it's kind of one of those realms where they just don't want to say anything. You know, everybody likes them. I'd probably get in trouble if I said anything about it. Move on with your life. Well, they hang out with each other. They do some fishing. It kind of gets a little bit into what this other person's deal with is with the aliens. Kitami, his family was completely killed by aliens. At some point, they were celebrating his sister's celebration or something like that. And one of the aliens like backed up into their car, killed them all, and they ran away. The police didn't even chase after them. He figured it's probably because, you know, they don't want to cause an international event or anything like that by prosecuting an alien or anything like that. And then he starts getting to questioning the existence of the meteor itself. Like, he's even like, okay, I'm going so far as I hate them. And additionally, I think there's something up. I don't even think there's a meteor. Like, I question if they made all that stuff up. And so I really hate them, and I'm never going to accept them. And I hate that they trash the world. And so they get like together, kind of have a little fun, like, you know, venting themselves. And then it jumps over to, yeah, the boss accidentally setting himself on fire because he's spraying himself with like cooling spray so much, and he lights a cigarette and sets him on fire. Doesn't do anything about it. And then they fire her, and then they think that she's the worst thing ever because they let him burn. And then his friend shows up the next day with an alien that he beat to death, and he wants to get rid of the body. And based on the smell of the charred corpse the other day, our protagonist has the great idea, hey, let's eat it. That'll get rid of the body. Let's eat it. And it turns out to be actually good. And so it all kind of resolves the first chapter with, I think, probably the thing that is going to make people raise an eyebrow the most, is that because they hate the aliens so much, they're going to get rid of them by eating them. So essentially, Kitami here is going to be killing the aliens And then over here, Namamoto, I believe her name is, she's going to be consuming them. Genius idea. Genius idea. And that's pretty much the gist of the story so far with the first chapter. And of course, a lot of the drama and controversy is coming from, yes, the fact that the main character, she doesn't seem to like this group that has now living amongst them. It's the idea of the minority. It's the idea of this group of people that are not the same race and how much she absolutely hates them. And I can see that. I mean, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, it makes you feel uncomfortable. I think even in that sense, even if I felt the same way reading this, I would probably say I still want it to exist. That's always been my stance with this kind of stuff. Even if it is extremely questionable, even if it's doing something horrible, I think all storytelling should exist. Now, can, Shueisha decide at some point, based on feedback, this isn't a good thing, let's get rid of it? Sure, whatever. But I don't really want that to be the case here because I don't think this is necessarily going for that. Just based on me reading through it, I don't think that's necessarily what it's going for because of what it's sort of portraying for our main character. This is laying it out so far that there is the existence of aliens that have come here, supposedly save them. There's a lot of indication here already that I don't think they necessarily save the humans. I think it's just been painted that way. But there is an element here where I can sort of understand the feeling of the character, and I like that. I like when a main character, yes, is she mean? Yeah. Is the comments that she makes mean? Yeah. Is she mean for not caring that this person burns to death? Yeah. It's mean. The main character is very mean-hearted. But at least, and I like this, and this is why I like these types of stories to exist, at least it's explaining why she's in that position. It opened up with the idea that she keeps getting elbowed in the face by these people, and they all just shrug it off, and they yell at her about it. That's kind of a bad thing. Every single one of these aliens, every time they run into her, they beat her in the face enough that her nose bleeds, and they don't want to apologize for it. It's showing that there's something happening here, and I think if people aren't picking up on that, it's kind of weird. Or at least people don't want to see that it's saying something. And then it goes in through this whole process of showing that everything is talking about how great the aliens is. Alien Appreciation Week. Oh my gosh, let's talk about how great aliens are on television. Yeah, we got to go to moon because of the aliens. Thanks for saving us from the meteor. Even she herself is acknowledging this. Yeah, it's great that they saved us from the meteor. Great that they gave us great technology. Beat in the face again, that my boss is yelling at me constantly and we're working in a terrible environment. All the aliens are all leading the corporations and we're stuck with these horrible jobs and everybody else still loves the aliens except for me. It seems like it's blatantly showing that I think this is where I think the direction it's going is I think that everybody else is being brainwashed by the aliens. It's just our protagonist and this Kitami guy are not. They're kind of seeing things properly. Now, the question mark that I have is that a sign that she keeps getting beat in the face and he keeps getting the beat in the face, that they're not going with the program? That they're not brainwashed, so they're not staying where they need to stay, thus they keep getting hit in the face by the aliens. That seems very blatant. It seems very blatant that they're showing that they keep getting beat in the face and they're the only two that don't like the situation. It makes me believe that they're not going along with the process and thus stepping out of the line of the program, and that's why they keep getting beat in the face. It seems like this is very, for me, so far the story seems to be obviously painting that society itself has been brainwashed into thinking that the aliens save them and are doing good, but in actuality, mankind is just cattle. And that seems to be obvious in the idea that they're running everything. They're the top dogs in all the businesses. The humans have horrible jobs, or at least they have horrible jobs, and that no matter what they do, the humans are overly accepting them. And the idea of like right here, where, okay, they killed my family and they let them go. Well, they didn't want to cause an incident, so they let my family burn to death and didn't do anything about it. Obviously, somebody's going to not like this group. It's already painting the idea, and this goes into the realm of why I like stories like this. This idea that, yes, it is questionable. Yes, the characters themselves are saying very nasty things, but it's at least showing me why they say that. And I think even if it does say a lot of nasty and hurtful things, it should still exist because it's still storytelling. It's still fiction in the end of the day. And I think it could do something very interesting with this concept if people let it actually breathe. Yes, can it get to the idea that the rest of the story is nothing but them going out hunting down aliens and consuming them until they eat 17 million of them? It could. I don't necessarily think that's a very interesting story. I think it's one of those cases where everybody assumes it's just saying we don't like outsiders and let's consume them, and it's the most simplest story ever, and assuming that's the direction they're going to take it, when that's going to in fact be the most boring story ever. It's just going to be very repetitive. I think there's something else here. Now, yes, the other route that I think a lot of people have kind of pointed out, and I kind of agree with it, is this could turn into one of the things of the villains turning into the good guys. The idea that it starts off with these characters being sort of rejects of society and being super nasty, but at some point realizing the wrongs of their way and realizing that they want to do something good. And I think that could probably turn out to be in the same vein as my idea of the theory of the story is that, yes, eventually realizing that mankind's being brainwashed by the aliens and they end up being the ones to save mankind by consuming them. That could be as well. But I think the idea of immediately kind of rejecting the story just because the character's being mean and saying some really awful stuff, that's where I can't really follow people. I think even if the story starts out very vulgar, and I believe that if people are uncomfortable with it, don't consume it. But again, I think it's too obvious with lines like this, "You're fired, go die," because they didn't save this guy for setting himself on fire. I think there is an element here where I think it's overly obvious that there is too much criticism for those that don't criticize the existence of the aliens. I think the interesting thing is, though, is that it's kind of across the board in the reception of this manga. Like, even for the Japanese side. Like, Japanese and English side, it seems like it's very across the board, very mixed reaction to this. You have on the Japanese side, they are saying the same stuff, that they think that, hey, this might be a bit much. It seems like it's very, racist. It's very xenophobic. It's anti-immigration, that kind of stuff. But the difference is that on the Japanese side, a lot of them are saying the same thing. Can't wait till chapter 2. This is kind of question mark, but let's wait for the next chapter. That's the significant difference that I'm seeing between English and Japanese reception to this, is that at least on the Japanese side, they can see, hey, yeah, I can see this kind of questionable, but where does it go from here? There is an element of, hey guys, maybe it'll be explained in the next chapter. Maybe that'll show something, a shift or something. They've been on this rodeo before, basically. Like, this isn't going to be, let's just be bad for the sake of being bad. There's probably going to be some sort of hook here, an element here that'll be very, very interesting. They want to see where it goes. And I think there's even an element there of saying that, hey, yeah, it's bad, but okay, moving on. Like, this is still fiction in the end of the day. I think that's the biggest problem that I think a lot of people have is they can't disconnect that aspect. They can't disconnect themselves from the fiction itself. Like, this has to be saying something. It has to be doing something. It has to be telling us it has to be telling us to think some way. I think that's the worst. It has to be telling us how to think. No, it's just a story. It's just a story about people being invaded by aliens and they start to eat them. Why can't we leave it at that? Like, I'm of the mindset that, yes, I think the direction it's going is that this is invaders and they brainwashed everybody except for these two because they're the only ones that keep getting beat in the face every 2 seconds by these aliens. And it makes perfect sense why they don't like them because they keep getting their nose broke by these damn things. They're obviously not going to like them. And they're probably going to keep consuming the aliens while at the same time avoiding people who are brainwashed that want them to accept the aliens. Probably something like that. But at the end of the day, if it does turn into aliens from outer space invaded Earth, and these two people don't like them and start eating them, whoop-de-doo. There's a million stories about demons showing up and people slaughtering the demons, even though the demons talk, and nobody cares. That's the whole premise of Demon Slayer. They're killing all the demons. Well, the demons are bad. These ones are presumably bad too because they're beating the crap out of the main characters and putting them into sweatshops. It's one of those elements where I kind of wonder why people can't just let the medium exist. And that's kind of where I come to in the end, is just let the medium exist. But either way, we'll see where it goes. I will definitely check out the second chapter once it comes out. I'll be curious to see. Not that I'm like super invested in the story at all. I think I will check out the second chapter just to see if it sort of starts hinting at my theories based on it. But we'll see. But I thought it was interesting. Again, I'm a fan of series that actually are extremely controversial but have something in there that's very intriguing to kind of look into. I do appreciate a lot of storytelling where it seems like it's very controversial, but in the midst of it says something. Like this case right here. I can see some people that do have the similar mindset of somebody like Namamoto here that doesn't like the occupation of a group. Like there's a lot of people that are making comments saying that this might be saying something about the U.S. military occupation of certain areas in Japan. This could be saying something about that because based on at some point when they're fishing, he's saying how the skies are covered with nothing but these trails of spaceships. It kind of giving an indication of the occupation of the military forces. But I digress. I think there is something where you can have a character like this who doesn't like the occupation here and is very nasty about it. And there's some cases where you can have people that can kind of relate to the character in some way. And in some senses, you can have where a story sort of shows a path out or shows a wrongdoing there. Do I think the story's doing that right now? No. But I can see people's argument that, yes, the relatability there can be pushing you towards bad thoughts. But I don't know. I don't really think it's necessarily going that direction. It's very obviously showing these aliens as almost cartoonishy here. And I don't think it's really going to go the direction that I think people are thinking it's going to go. But either way, in the end of the day, like I always say, freedom of expression. I think even if it says something horrible, I think it should exist. Should you have to read it? No, you don't have to. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Drama Queen, the drama of Drama Queen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of this manga so far. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. Like this content, you want to support the channel more, links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, you'll take care.